What up, everybody? Welcome back. It's Rip City Real Talk. We're here for an episode. Good, bad, win, loss, lose, draw. It doesn't matter. We're here every single week recapping for you. It's me, Craig Moshkow, and my best buddy, Anthony Blaylock, ready to hit some news for you. What's up, man?
Hey, buddy. Not too much. Could have been a weird week, eh? For the first time this season, we were unable to call out the motto of going 500 or better on this here series throughout the week from the games that we recap. So that's kind of a bummer. To be honest with you, the only win that we got was against the lowly at the time 1-10 Rockets. But we'll talk about all that. We're going to recap going back as far as the Clippers game to start the week off. And then obviously we actually watched the game today, recording on a Sunday. So we'll end it with the Denver game. And then we'll kind of break up the news like we always do, any kind of trends that we're seeing with the team. This is a weekly basis, so hopefully this doesn't persist and it's not necessarily season-long trends. But we'll get into that. That's all I got for you, man. Packers shut out the Seahawks. All you fans that listen to us that are Northwest homers, take that, shut out, goose egg. First time in 10 years that Russell Wilson was unable to get any points on the board. They tried, darn it. They tried their little hearts out. They were just throwing up Hail Marys and all sorts of crazy nonsense at the end of the game.
Didn't look good.
So all good there. Not so good for your Raiders. It's looking like it's on right now, which is why we're recording, because you called it quits after the Deshaun Jackson fumble. But that's it, man. Other than that, life is good. How are you?
Yeah. Good, man. I actually I live 4 hours from you, but we hung out this weekend and went and watched a movie. And it was really fun to hang out again and get to talk live and in person, sick of Zoom, but whatever. So it's been good. And I think the Blazers are in a tumultuous part of the season. And this week is it's going to be pretty rocky, probably one of the lowest points of the season, I would say. So we're going to have to either do some spinning here or have a really realistic outlook on what this week was.
Yeah, it's still a young season. Like I said, I'm not going to take too many judgments until the 20-game mark, but it's not looking good here to start off.
Yeah. So Tuesday, Clippers are always a tough matchup for us. I don't care what anybody says. Paul George does not like Dame. They may respect each other, but ever since that walk-off from OKC where Dame basically fractured their franchise, Paul George always comes in and lights it up, and this game was no different, right?
No, he almost had a triple-double, put up 24 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, and he did it on 5 fouls, which is crazy to me. So he had foul trouble early, really struggled to stop Norman Powell, who came out with, I think, 23 points, hit 5 threes, struggled against him, struggled against our guards in general, which was great to see. But also on the other side of that, we couldn't stop him either. So it kind of went both ways. This game was one of Dame's better ones. He dropped 27 on the game. Like I said, Powell scored really well. But it kind of comes down to me. It comes down to the shooting again. And I feel like this is a trend. It's a trend all season. Our games either, I swear to goodness, that it comes down to whether or not we're hot from 3 or whether or not the teams that we're playing against is hot from 3. Clippers were hot from 3, shooting 53%. 53.3, as you can see on the graphic on here.
Yeah.
%. That's not good. That's not okay. Nicholas Batum looked like Ray Allen out there hitting 5 threes. It was crazy. And for them, it didn't really come from their normal spots, right? Like Kennard didn't go off. He had 6 earlier on us in the season. He really didn't do much for him. Nobody on their team really got hot. It was just kind of a little bit from everybody.
Reggie Jackson, Nick Batum.
Outside of Batum, so.
Yeah. And Paul George can facilitate like crazy. That's something he's added a lot the last 2.5 years to his game. In an absence of Kawhi, and they really don't have a very good offensive point guard who can run the offense, it's really been Paul George. But dude, like if you look at this, so you're going to tell me CJ played 34 minutes and scored 13 points. Dame had one of his better games of the season, which is only 27 points. Nurkic had a double-double with 6 assists, and guess what? Norman Powell got 23. That's pretty much his standard. I think we've lived and died on Covington and Nance and some of the extra role players hitting those perimeter threes. But the defense in this one was atrocious from the perimeter. Like, what is going on out there?
They shot 50% from the field, including that 53% from 3. We couldn't slow anything down. A lot of this to me comes down to Nurkic's play and some of the backup bigs as well. Zeller hasn't looked super hot.
No.
Hartenstein got 14 on us. And don't even get me started on who we're about to mention in the Phoenix game. But when Hartenstein comes out and gets 14 points and really was probably one of their most productive players in this particular game, that's a guy that really shouldn't be beating you consistently. Zeller is a starter, was a starter in this league. He should be able to handle that a little bit better. So pretty disappointing to see that. And again, I mean, there's not much to say about this one. We made it close. We kept it close for quite a while. We did everything in our darndest power to keep it close, but you can't fight against perimeter threes. You just can't continue to give teams open looks. You can't continue to give them these kind of opportunities to just jack up threes and hit them. 53% is unacceptable. That's been a weakness for this team. It's something that apparently Chauncey was supposed to come in and fix. And I know it's early, but the rotations look absolutely disgusting right now on the back end. After we put so much emphasis on stopping the point of attack, screens, etc.
Yeah.
But the guys that are supposed to be out there rotating really well, Rocco, Powell, even Nurk at some point, once he comes up and helps, is supposed to get back out and allow things to open up. Defensively, it's just not working out. So hats off to the Clippers. I mean, it wasn't anything special. You get Paul George out of the game for a majority of the time with the fouls, and you still can't pull it off. Disappointing.
That one
at least it wasn't a blowout. The first two against him was a blowout. You know, Chauncey was able to adjust a little bit, and he's going to continue to know how those guys play. You get them 3 times early in the season while you're still going through some growing pains, and now they got this, the 2-1 advantage on you for the season. So not much there. You lose, other than Batum's hot shooting and the 50% from 3. Not a lot to discuss in that game in particular. Anything else you noticed?
No, I think I was fine with that one. I think I'd move on to Phoenix because Phoenix is the one that I actually want to complain about more. I mean, the Clippers have size and they have defensive talent to me that give us problems. Phoenix is kind of the other side to me. Like, we should be able to match up with their guards and we should take advantage of their bigs. I mean, I know Ayton is good, but let's talk about old Frank the Tank and giving him a career high. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, so first off, Ayton didn't play this one, in case anybody was wondering. Ayton was out, injury, rest, whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was that he was hurt with, but he's been banged up for a while now, so he didn't play in that game. So they're kind of forced to start some different players than they normally would start, and I don't believe who started at center for him again. Yeah, JaVale McGee. Okay, JaVale McGee kind of went out there. He didn't play as much as the superstar Frank the Tank Kaminsky.
Good Lord.
For those of you who know, which is probably nobody, Frank the Tank Kaminsky he's on my shrine for Final Four in my bracket. I have a bracket of players that are just loving the NBA because they somehow won me a bracket. Don't forget that he was on that Wisconsin team that took down Kentucky, and yours truly, Mr. Packer fan over here, really has never been to Wisconsin or lived in Wisconsin, somehow loves all these Wisconsin teams. Rooted for Frank Kaminsky, and they beat Kentucky. I won my bracket off that alone. So he got put up on my shrine along with Kemba Walker and some other guys. Quite the bracket. I'll give you guys my bracket this year and let you get some money off me. But my goodness, man, it was embarrassing. He got 31 points, his career high. And I'm gonna put this out there right now. This is not the first player that we're gonna talk about this week who got a career high against Portland. There are others. There's one more at least.
Yep.
But Frank the Tank was unstoppable. The dude was hitting fadeaways, floaters. And why was that so easy for him to do, man? Break down what you saw in that game.
Nurkic, to me, I mean, so there's 2 things. Number one, Nurkic and Robert Covington, neither one of them have been very good this week defensively. Robert Covington looked really lost, and I think that there's actually some stuff going on behind the scenes. Like, I actually think he might get benched soon and not be in the starting lineup because Rocco is not rotating well. He's not playing. I mean, his best thing is to be a help defender, and he's not really doing that very much right now. And he just doesn't look like he gives a lot of effort. That's what I have. What about you?
I'll definitely say his energy seems a little off. He's brought in to do a couple things. He's a role player, supposed to hit threes and be the defensive guru that he's really been throughout his career. And I think a lot of the problem, quite frankly, is the new way that they want to rotate. And I'm going to give him some time still because I've seen him make some pretty good defensive plays here and there too. It does seem to be more on the end of him getting beat consistently and not being in the right position. He's been a big problem with these open threes. A lot of that has to do with Nurk coming up out of the paint, trying to help the guards, either not getting back soon enough or getting back too far and allowing the guards with the space in between.
Yes.
What that's doing, man, it's forcing Rocco and Powell to really have to try to run in again and help. The same problem that we had last year, right? The same issues with them getting around our guards. Only instead of the center being there, our perimeter defenders are having to kind of run, and their back is turned to these shooters. The ball's getting kicked out, passed around once or twice, and then there's just nobody there to help. So I'm going to give him a pass for now. I agree that it needs to be better. I think Little's getting ready to play him out of the starting lineup, and Little's really been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
He was good in this game. He's been good consistently the last couple games. So I still don't think Little's quite there for a starting role, but if he keeps playing with the way he's playing, the energy, the shooting, the defense, and all that good stuff, agreed. Rocco is going to be this year's Derek Jones Jr., and he's going to get benched because he's not doing the role that he's out there with the starters to do. He's already an undersized starting power forward.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of room for error if he's not going to be able to play the defensive at the elite level that we need him to, especially with the guards being the way they are.
I think you could see some more Larry Nance. I mean, Larry Nance had a decent week this week, and not that he's been a lot better defensively when he's out there, but he gives you size. He gives you more of a presence, and offensively, he can do more than just shoot spot up threes. So, I mean, if you're looking to inject something into this team, I think that Larry Nance or Nas, either one, could play more minutes and get a little. I mean, Larry Nance played 27 in this Suns game, for better or worse.
Yeah, but Rocco, to me, the problem with taking Rocco out of the starting lineup is going to be the shooting. He's actually been shooting pretty well. I mean, he's up there with his normal percentages on the year. Yeah. He's been shooting fine. And when you have guys like Dame and CJ, and really a lot of your ball movement stems from Nurk nowadays, you kind of need him to be out there to stand on the perimeter and keep a guy honest with him and then be able to hit the threes. I don't think you can count on Nance to do that consistently, and I don't think you can. I mean, you could probably count on Little to do that systematically. I'm sure he'd be fine with the way he's shooting. But Rocco doesn't really fit to me in the second unit as easily as I think he fits with the starters because of the way that the guards open him up and really utilize his shooting a little bit more than what he's going to get if he goes to the bench. So
we shot 23% in this game from three. 7 of 30. That's terrible. That's atrocious.
And Dame was fine. He had 28 points, which might be the highest he's gotten all year. 7 rebounds, 7 assists. He had no problem. He was able to score at will. He came in the second quarter and really was lighting it up. Kind of died off in the fourth quarter, which was unfortunate, but he didn't look bad. I just think, watching the game, it just felt like Chris Paul and Booker and really anybody, Payne, Johnson, they were all able to just get right past those guards, and then when Nurk has to retreat to try to stop that cutoff or that pass to the big, especially with the way Kaminsky was playing, mid-rangers for days. They had 60 points in the paint. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. That's absurd. And it was easy looking.
Yes. And the same thing happened to Denver, not to skip, but the same thing happened with Denver tonight. And that may be where the drop scheme, I understand it's not fun, but the drop scheme does actually prevent a lot of that. When we're over rotating the way we have been this week, the defense is getting shredded, and we weren't even competitive in these games. You know what I mean? I mean, Houston we were because Houston's terrible, but these two teams are playoff Western Conference playoffs teams, and they just destroyed us. And like you said, I mean, Campaign and Johnson, and then Campazzo tonight, like they're penetrating and doing whatever they want. That's not good. There's no counterpunch here on defense.
Yeah, I don't care what you're trying to run with Nurk going up to help. The guards are still getting beat. They had 60 points in the paint, and it could have been so much worse because when you consider how many just like mid-range shooter or jump shots that Booker and Paul made just outside the paint, which aren't going to technically count as points in the paint. I mean, if they take 2 steps in, they're probably at like 70 to 80 points in the paint. I mean, it was absurd that they just did whatever they want. Little floaters. They were just outside basically shooting free throws the entire time because they would drive in, stop, beat our zone, beat our coverage, and then shoot over anybody that was in the area. The guards are behind them, and Nurk has to retreat, and they just had that perfect little pocket over and over and over and over. And then when you finally tried to like stop that and bring everybody back up, and your guards are actually able to stay with them, they kick into Kaminsky, who was just right on the other side and was getting whatever he wanted to.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, and so obviously the Suns team is very good, and they know what they want to do, right? They're going to come in and impose their will on you. And I think that when you look at Chris Paul and Devin Booker, that's going to be a tough matchup for the Blazers. But Anthony Simons looked lost in this game. CJ, I had 18, but it was not a very pretty 18. He shot a lot. CJ's shot hunting sometimes is a serious detriment to this offense. And I know that that's his primary skill is to ISO score, but it can be really rough for this team when he falls into those old habits.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So yeah, you lose that one by 10, which sucks. Phoenix is back on track. They kind of started the year slow, but since then they've been red hot and they've won quite a few in a row now.
Yep.
So that sucks. But then we got Houston. All right,
Yeah.
you get a gimme. It should have been a gimme. I mean, it ended up being a 12-point victory, but for most of that game, it was way closer than I think anybody would have liked it to be. To be honest with you, they were 1-10. It should have been a 30-point blowout. Nobody should have been playing big minutes. Like, there's not one guy on that team that you're scared of. I mean, honestly, I'm more scared of John Wall than I was anybody else that was on that team, and I don't think he's on the team anymore. So, like,
he's just sitting. Like they're just not playing him.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, I wanted to see Green play. I was looking forward to that. And they're young and athletic. And that's the one thing that I think kept him in this game for as long as it did. I mean, they got guys like what? We got
Kevin Porter Jr.
Porter. I mean, all sorts of good players. Allison Martin on their bench. They're very athletic, lanky. Yep. They can do a lot of that stuff. Not a great three-point shooting team. And it's not a good scoring team right now in general. They didn't have anybody on their team go over 20 points this week. That's
Christian Wood is like their best player in my opinion, and he only had 8 points. Like he couldn't really get into a rhythm. He couldn't do anything.
37 minutes and he comes out with 8 points. That's terrible. So the hats off to the defense there.
Yes, that's great.
But there wasn't much in this one. Honestly, there wasn't a lot going on. We beat them in assists 21-13, I believe it was. So the ball movement was fine, especially against a young, fast, athletic team. It's good to see assists rolling in. It shows the ball movement was there, but they're not a great defensive team. So you expect to get a lot of assists and kind of have a good, relaxing game in that regard, but way closer than it should have been. Mm-hmm. The only thing that happened in that game that was any kind of noteworthy, obviously, was the little dunk, probably the dunk of the year that I thought was going to kill Kevin Cabrera. Like, it was bad. Like, him and Lamar, they had a good time with that one. I mean, did you see the dunk? Did you watch?
Yeah, I saw the dunk, and that Şengün guy needs to learn how to get out of the way, man. That was nuts. And somebody was like, "Oh man, they need a veteran to teach that guy to make career business decisions and get his body out of the way when Nasir Little's flying at the rim like that."
Yeah, that's part of what we were talking about so far, Little being so hot. It's just the energy. I mean, he's looking to attack. He's looking to attack every night now when he gets the ball in his hand. The fast breaks are just killer with him right now. They look great in a good way. Yeah. He's looking just spry. He's going up. He's playing good defense, and he's really shooting a good percentage from outside too. His three balls have been falling. So hats off to him, because that dunk, I mean, I think I woke up my girlfriend. I yelled so loud. I was like, oh, and it was so cool.
Yeah, and Chauncey's been coaching him really hard too. I mean, Nasir Little's been one of his pet projects, I feel like, as far as on both ends of the floor. Chauncey is constantly on him. And I think it's because Chauncey understands that he's going to be a very integral piece of this team in the next 3 years. He's cheap and he plays a position of need. So Chauncey knows he's got to coach up Nasir, and that level up is starting to come to fruition, although he does still look a little lost at times, especially on the defensive end. And his aggressiveness can work against him on the defensive end at times. But, I mean, you can't really complain when the guy comes out there and balls and plays really hard every single game.
Agreed. 100%. That's really all I have on Houston. I mean, only win of the week. There wasn't a lot going on there. The guys look like they were just kind of in a better rhythm this game than they have been. Nobody really did anything super crazy except for the dunk. So good win. Should win that game. And that kind of brings me to tonight.
Yeah.
So this was going to be a tough one coming in anyway, because we didn't have Damian Lillard, but they also, late game scratch. They didn't have Will Barton.
No Will Barton, no Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, and he's been out. Obviously, Murray's still out for them. So they're missing a couple of their key players, 2 starters, and then Barton's been a starter most of the year. So really 3 starters when you get down to the brass tacks there. I mean, kept it close for a little bit. Like, it wasn't terrible until probably the end of the second quarter. Then Jokic hit the buzzer beater to walk off at halftime. Came right out in the third quarter, hit another 3, and just never looked back. He just absolutely torched us, which He does all the time, eh?
He does. I mean, he's, in my opinion, just keeps getting better and better and better. And he likes this matchup against us because he knows what he can do. He's very familiar with Nurkic and his tricks, and I think he likes to get the best of him. The other thing is the passing, right? The Nuggets pass with such prevalence, and they're so proficient at it. If you look at like this Highland kid came in, I'd never even seen him play. He picked apart the Blazers in pick and roll. He was finding backdoor cuts. Campazzo was obviously finding all kinds of stuff all over the floor, and he's kind of a pest. But when you look at this Blazers defense, I have no idea what they were trying to do tonight. I have no idea what sets they were running. I have no idea what kind of coverage they were trying. It was so ugly and so confused that I couldn't watch it. It's that point. It's beyond frustrating.
Agreed. I mean, the assists were definitely a problem. Jokic had 7 in the first quarter alone. He only ended up with 9, but if he would have played the full game, he probably could have gotten 20. I mean, let's be real. He did whatever he wanted to us. Every time he get the ball, Nurk would come up on him, and he just hit like a backdoor passer, or somebody was wide open from 3 because they try to send help. Or
it's like he was doing it for fun.
Yeah, he looked like the MVP that he is. I mean, you wouldn't even know that Nurkic played. Nurkic got
he had like 4
points this game. Like, he only took 6 shots. He didn't play very much. I don't know if he got banged up at some point. 21 minutes isn't too far off from where he normally plays, but he just was a ghost out there. And usually him and Jokic, like, this is fun. This is good stuff. Last year, I'm pretty sure they made the comment it was like 2 polar bears fighting over an iceberg, the last little chunk of ice in the ocean. This wasn't that. Like,
no,
I don't know.
That's the hard thing, right? And we talk about that with Nurk sometimes. He's just a no-show some nights. And so what they had to do tonight was in the third quarter, they just completely pulled him, and they played Nance and they played Zeller and they tried to figure out other things, and it just didn't work. I mean, Jokic is just too big, and their guards were able to pick us apart too much, which is honestly sad. Like, that should never happen. But they had 29 assists. We only had 22. We could not do anything to make them uncomfortable on the defensive end of the floor. And without Dame, there wasn't a lot of threats offensively either.
Yeah, the firepower wasn't there. And that was the other player, and you mentioned them already, that had their career high. It was Highland, who got 18 off their bench.
He looked really good.
18 points from a guy. I'm sure we all started him in our daily fantasy lineups.
Never seen him before. I mean, he looked really good. I've never seen him play like that. It's like the Blazers have the ability to put the spotlight on Frank Kaminsky and make him look like an all-star. And I think Chauncey's pretty pissed about that, to be honest with you.
Agreed.
I mean, I think he's upset with Rocco. I think that he's upset with Nurk at times. I think he's going to come out tonight and basically say that you guys are playing for your spot in these starting lineups, and I need to see effort the entire time you're on the court, not just flashes, but literally every play. And I don't care if you have to stand in the corner on offense sometimes. I'm talking about defensively. You have to rotate. There were so many wide open shots tonight, and whether they dropped or not, it was embarrassing how wide open some of these professionals.
No, it was crazy. They shot 50% from the field. Of course they did. They got whatever they wanted. And then 47% from 3. Here we go again.
Yeah.
So, fun fact about the Blazers this year, this is one of the worst years defending the 3 that the team has had in their history. We are dead last in the league in 3 attempts and 3 percentage for opponents. It's not close. It's not close.
I mean, that was supposed to be the thing Chauncey was going to address, right? Offensively, it was going to be kind of same old same. It was going to be the guards. Maybe everybody gets involved or gets more touches, and Nurk gets more touches. But defensively, it was supposed to be switch everything, close out aggressively, put an address on it, accountability. And so far, we have not seen that in the competitive games. Now, there was a couple maybe early on, but I mean, the last 2 weeks, it looks like the bottom's falling out on this team. And I don't think you can blame Dame's abdomen injury as all the problems.
He actually had his best week probably shooting the ball and scoring than he's had, honestly, all year.
Exactly, bro.
The points he was putting up and the percentages were back. This game, especially tonight, this is one that I really wanted to see what Anthony was going to do in the starting lineup. Like, I don't expect him to be a starter, but we've been asked this question before, like, what happens with Anthony Simons? And we kind of brought up, if Dame and CJ or one of the two goes, he's next man up instead of Powell, which I'm kind of surprised they didn't honestly move Powell to the 2 guard. But this answers some questions for us to an extent. Yeah. Because I honestly thought they were going to just move Powell down and actually put Little into the starting lineup to get a little bit lankier.
Sure.
And that didn't happen. I thought that would have allowed them to double, Jokic a little bit easier. I don't know if Barton not playing maybe changed it a little bit because they ended up having to
Yeah.
put Morris into their starting lineup, but they went a little smaller, so you thought maybe we can match with Anthony. Not sure, but Anthony got the call. They went CJ Anthony and kept Powell at the 3. Cool, fine, whatever. There's no bench scoring now. You got nobody on your bench. They had to play Dennis Smith. He really didn't do anything.
He had some good playmaking, but no like scoring for himself.
Well,
really.
I mean, exactly. There's nothing there. Little did great again. I mean, he did fine off the bench.
Yeah.
But Anthony, I was like, okay, this is going to be great. I want to see what he's doing. Honestly, CJ hasn't been playing great. We'll get to that in a little bit later. But this was Anthony's moment to shine. He got 16 points. He didn't look great to me. He had a little stretch in the second quarter where he kind of had a little bit of momentum going where he got most of his points, late first, or I should say, in the second quarter. So early first, second quarter, basically all he played, at least consistently, and he didn't do much. I was disappointed. This was the game that I really wanted to see at least get 20, 25. There was a door that was open for him to come into the starting lineup and put up points, and he didn't. And that's a bit of a trend that we're going to talk about in the second half here. But not impressed with Simons, honestly, lately, and especially in this game when I really thought he had a chance to come away and do something great. Yeah. But again, Denver just does to us what Denver does, what every other team has done. We had the same thing with the Clippers. There's too many open threes, guys that really aren't shooting great throughout the year. Dozier was shooting like 29%. Dude comes in and hits 4 threes. Right. Yeah. It's a problem, and hopefully it's something that we can address and really figure out whether that is giving Rocco some time off or what. But same old for the Blazers so far. Not a great week, but that's okay. That's all right. We're going to talk about some other stuff, and I'm sure we can get it turned around, but we're going to get to that stuff in a moment because before we get to that stuff, what time is it?
Game time.
No, you know the segment. Don't give me the people. Go, tell the people what segment it is. Your favorite segment.
It's the Blazing New Trailblazing Blazer of the Week.
You messed it up already, bro. I'm okay. Leave this to me. Blazing New Trails, Blazer of the Week. I don't even know what you said. You said like Trailblazing 3 times. It was terrible.
I just like saying it.
I wanted to give you a chance to do the whole segment opening, and you good job. You were the Anthony Simons of the show. You had your chance. You failed me. You failed me brutally.
Well, who you got, man?
All right. So this week, probably no surprise. My trend, really, unless anything major has been happening, is players that we played throughout the week. So it's Nicholas. I know Nikolai sounds more French. Batum. So Nick Batum. People don't know. With us 2008 through 2015. One of my favorite Blazers. Almost bought his jersey. I didn't, but I wanted to. He played basically in the Brandon Roy, LaMarcus Aldridge days, and he really stuck around after Roy's era kind of ended and was there with the Wesley Matthews days. They were both let go in the summer 15-16. The terrible transition of this team from previous glory to a rebuild. So his big thing, the reason I put him on here, not only did he scorch us, look like the Nick Batum of old, 5 threes and 22 points against us when we played the Clippers this week, but he's actually shooting 45% from 3. 45% from 3 on the season. This is a career high for him. He only shot in the 40s once, and I think that was his second year with the Blazers. I don't have his actual stats pulled up now, but I know he's shooting 45% from 3 for this year. So happy to see him find a role. He spent so long with Charlotte there, and he got that big contract, and really the injuries kind of piled up. He looked like he aged a little bit.
It's a bad team.
Wasn't that Swiss Army knife defensive stud that he was in Portland. Wasn't sure how long he was going to last, but he found a role. He's been starting with the Clippers since Kawhi has been out. And quite frankly, he's shooting I think it's 47% from the field and that sweet 45% from 3, considering most of his attempts come from 3. Makes sense. But so happy for him. Hats off. I thought he would go easy on us. He didn't. Happy to see that he's found a role in the league still, and he's got that veteran shooting presence in there. I hope that he continues to do good things. I'd love to have him back in Portland. I don't care. I mean, look at him starting with the Clippers and just looking like he's only 24 again. I don't know.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I think we've done revisionist history on that trade in 2016 that sent him out before. And a lot of times, we should have probably just kept him because it is what it is. But that's all right. And I agree with you. It's good. I'm glad he didn't just his career didn't fizzle out in Charlotte and then he had to retire or something. I'm glad he was able to contribute to this Clippers team.
And quite frankly, he wasn't worth $20+ million that he ended up getting from Charlotte. So I'm glad he went and got paid. Yeah. We had the money that year. Grant, again, we ended up spending that money on Evan Turner and Alec Crabbe. So maybe you do pay Nick Batum at the time. But we didn't. So he's
Yeah.
gone. He's out of there playing with the Clippers now. And just wanted to say hats off to him. I'm glad he's having a career year from 3 and keeping that ball rolling for his NBA career. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we promised the people weekly updates, did we not?
Yes, we did.
On the news front, we
Yep.
did. What's the news you got on the Neil Olshey investigation?
Yeah. So
Not too much, but
yeah, basically right now, I mean, we said it last week. It's not going to be over quick. This is a long investigation process. They've hired a professional firm in order to do it, and these investigators are going down every avenue as they should. They've called in lots of former players. They've called up current staffers, and they also are going to meet with Neil this week and get his side of the story.
Him and the players.
Yeah, him and the players. Now, the thing that is going on right now that I think is kind of weird is Neil has been at the practice facility this week with his current staffers, which is kind of weird. I feel like they probably should have put him on some type of suspension or leave or whatever it may be while they conduct the investigation. I think that's kind of weird. The other thing is, from everything we've heard, whether it be Jason Quick or whoever's on the beat with these Aaron Fentress, all these guys are saying they don't think Neil's going to be able to retain his job. Now it's going to come down to whether or not like he's going to get a settlement or a buyout. He's not balking at that. He's saying that he's not going to take a settlement or a buyout. So he's going to play hardball. That's the update that we have right now. But again, I don't think by our next Sunday episode it will be concluded. I still think we're in for this till December.
Agreed. I think it's going to be quite a process. I mean, the fact that the firm's getting down to current players and Neil himself right now to go into it, you're kind of starting to enter the final stages. I don't think they're going to interview too many other people. I mean, you interview the guy himself and the current team to see if there's been anything.
Yep.
You're probably getting near the end of that investigation. But agreed,
Yeah.
he's already come out and said he's going to continue to fight for his job. That already tells me that the team's probably getting ready to.
They're trying
to try to get rid of him. Agreed. We can't report anything official. We don't have any sources. We're just reading the articles and the research that we find from those who have the sources. But that's your update on Neil. Like I said, still here with the team, still involved, still being interviewed, and that's happening. Another major player in the old political world of the Portland Trail Blazers up the command chain.
Shocking.
Some big news today. You want to fill the people in?
Yeah, so Chris McGowan steps down on Friday. I guess that had been in the works since November 1, and the guy's he's a busy guy, right? There's a lot going on. He does not do anything on the basketball, like the roster operation side. All he does is the fans and the experience and Moda and TV and distribution. And so he does lots of the business side, but he just doesn't do contracts or communications or
that's the GM.
That's the GM's role. I guess it came down to, and some of the stuff that Quick came out with for The Athletic this week said that basically he asked to control some of the narrative that was happening out of the Blazers over the summer, and Jody Allen basically said, no, Neil's going to retain that power, and I think Chris already has enough on his plate, and he wants to explore other opportunities, so he's stepping down. And we have a staffer a guy who's experienced in this organization that's stepping up to take that role right now as the interim.
Yep, Dwayne Haskins is taking over, not the Pittsburgh Steelers backup quarterback and Ohio State legend. Dwayne Haskins is taking over. For those who don't know, Chris McGowan was the CEO and president of the Portland Trail Blazers as far as the business side goes. So like I said, not necessarily involved with the day-to-day operations of the team specifically, but the business side of the Portland Trail Blazers brand. He's also still affiliated with Vulcan, and I don't believe he stepped down from Vulcan. I think he's still keeping that. He just stepped down from the role with the Blazers themselves. Who knows what's going on there? I think the timing is more suspicious than they want to make it out to be. I'm sure it was in the works, maybe, but it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if some of this stemmed from him and Neil having maybe button some heads. Maybe he resigns and he's like, yeah, it's because of the way Neil's been treating me, and boom, investigation. Listen, speculation 100%, but the timing of him putting in the works around November 1st to want to leave the team, and all of a sudden Neil Olshey investigation comes up.
I agree.
That's suspicious to me. Should be suspicious to other people, and if that doesn't say that there's some stuff going on with Neil, I don't know what does. But McGowan was great for his 9 years that he was in this role with the Portland Trail Blazers, Moda Center, renaming, all that good stuff. A lot of that came from him. He's been responsible for making the Moda Center 100% green, one of the only sports stadiums in the entire country out of any sport to be able to gloat about that. So pretty cool if you're a renewable guy and a green person as far as the just the environmental impact and a lot of other cool things that he's done, outreach programs, etc. So hopefully Dwayne Haskins can step up for now in the interim role and continue to do that until they find somebody else. But just interesting timing. Like I said, I can't report anything official, but don't tell me this wasn't related to the Neil thing. Like, if you're telling me this was happening and then a week later Neil goes under investigation, maybe Jody Allen was like, okay, Chris left. He said some stuff about Neil. We need to look into it now because we just lost the guy that ran our team.
Yep.
So we'll see. But
that
was the big news. That's some interesting stuff on the non-player front as far as the news we wanted to break you guys on. And now we'll get back to some basketball talk. We start talking about some things we noticed this week. We've already touched on a lot of it as we went through the games each week. Damian Lillard, we talked about rest. We had the abdominal. Say the word.
So abdominal. But
abdominal. Why can't I say that? Anyway, go on.
LeBron just missed a week, and they're saying he might miss a little more time. I mean, what do we think is going to happen with this Dame situation? Is it going to be 3 games? Is it going to be a week and a half? I mean, what do you honestly think?
He won't be out as long as LeBron. LeBron can afford to be out longer because they have Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook.
True.
The Lakers are still going to be in the fight no matter what.
Yeah.
We saw tonight against the playoff caliber team that was missing a couple of their best players. What happens when you don't have your star player? I do think it's good that they decided to rest him. This came up. The report kind of came out last week. We told you guys about it, and apparently it's been bugging him since the Olympics. And he said really the last couple of years, which was interesting to me.
Yeah.
I think it's probably affected his shot a little more than we originally thought. I don't want to use it as an excuse because he still looks like he's taking those shots, and I don't think he'd be doing that if he didn't think he could physically put up some of the shots he's been putting up. And really this last week, like we talked about, he's looked great. Averaging around 25 points, had his high at 27, 28 so far.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think too much of that is there, but I do think that it bugged him enough. And this is not a guy that likes to miss time, but he knows he has to get himself right. And if he's taking himself out of a game and the medical staff said, yeah, Dame, you're not going, which is not something that typically happens with him very often, I would expect him to miss some more time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nothing's come out. Nothing's been completely reported officially on tomorrow's game against the Raptors or the game against the Bulls on Wednesday. They're coming back home, so he'll get the rest a little bit more instead of the whole, bog down of traveling on the road.
Mm-hmm.
But I would think one more game. I think especially on a back-to-back, I think it's too soon to really evaluate and say, okay, you're good to go tonight? All right, great. I think he'll miss tomorrow. I would like to think that they'll evaluate him come Tuesday and see if he's ready to go for the Bulls.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound serious, personally. I think it's more of a maintenance rest thing to kind of check on it and give him some time. Maybe he re-aggravated something. He was holding himself, in the game recently. It was Houston. He was like holding himself a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you could kind of see that there was some pain there. No, I'm sorry. It was the Phoenix game, which is probably what stemmed this. And then, again, I don't think it's super serious. I think Dame will be fine. I do think he misses tomorrow, but until we get an official word. Can't speculate on that, but I would think Wednesday will be – if he misses Wednesday,
then
time to be a bit more concerned about how long-term it's going to be. But for now, no need to panic.
Well, I would rather him sit for 2 weeks right now and come back strong than come back on Wednesday, limp through a game, have to miss – I mean, just
right.
This team is not showing a lot of life. And you've got to figure it out. And I get the side where people say, like, well, we need Dame to play right now because, like you said, we don't have anybody that can carry this team while he's out. But Dame not being healthy is not going to help this team. Like, he cannot come in here limping around and trying to do his best and carry this team because it's only going to further his injury and make things worse for him. So he's got to get at least a little more healthy before he comes back. So I'm hoping Wednesday, but I'm cautiously optimistic, and I'd be fine if he wants to rest for an extra game or two.
Yeah, I mean –
he's not a guy who misses time, like you said. So something must be wrong physically. I'd rather he be healthy.
Agreed, and we'll see. I hope he's not out longer than he needs to be. I don't want him resting for 2 weeks if he doesn't need to.
Yeah. No.
I think that's kind of the dilemma you run into. You're already getting behind in the standings now. The schedule doesn't get any easier. We'll talk about some of the upcoming games, but I don't know. It's going to be something to watch. I don't think he goes tomorrow. He could surprise me. It could just be I need 1 day to rest real quick to
maybe
loosen up and he's back, but I don't think so. I agree with you. I think he misses some more time. Hopefully it's not too long. I honestly disagree with you on the fact that he should rest to get healthy because it's not going to – if he misses too much time and get too far behind, I don't think it's going to matter if he's coming back fully. He's putting up 20-something points a game right now. He's starting to hit his threes again. Like I don't think that's a problem per se. We lost most of those games when he was playing at his best. The team around him is just not good enough to recover if Dame misses too much time. But we'll see. I mean, at that point, we're just going to wait and see what happens with them and make the judgments come next episode.
Yep.
His replacement in the starting lineup, Anthony Simons. I already talked about what I wanted from him in Denver. It was very disappointing.
Yeah.
But that's not the end of it, right? He's been terrible this whole week. This whole week he's been bad.
I don't know. Anthony Simons looks like he was forcing it. He looked out of rhythm. There wasn't a lot of ball movement to this offense at all week. I mean, I don't think you could find very many highlights on YouTube that looked very good of the Blazers running an offense, other than maybe Norman Powell pushing the pace and getting into the paint and attacking the rim. To see a little dunking sometimes. CJ and Anthony Simons look like they're shot hunting to me, which is fine. That's kind of what they do. But when it's not good, it's really ugly and it really hinders this offense. The other thing is it doesn't allow Larry Nance, Cody Zeller, Nurkic, a lot of these guys to get into a rhythm. Nurkic was pretty bad this week offensively. And in his new role where he's supposed to be passing and facilitating more, he just looked not great to me. We'll talk more about that as the year goes on, but those three things, I mean, this week you have easier opponents on the defensive end. You should see Anthony Simons play a lot better against these next two teams.
So to put things in perspective, he got 5 points against the Clippers, 2 points against Phoenix, 8 points against Houston. Then he dropped 16 tonight in a starting role.
Yeah.
But we're talking about a guy that was averaging 3 threes a game and 13 points a game. We're talking potential 6 Man of the Year awards coming out just great. A couple weeks ago. He was on fire. He looked like he loved his role. Everything was great. But then it seems like as soon as Dame started turning it on, some of these guys took a big step back, which is weird to me because I don't feel like their roles changed anything different. Dame was just hitting better shots, but CJ's no difference. Simon's been struggling to score. He's not hitting his shots. He's not doing the things he was doing. We were all excited about him driving, etc. And then CJ, he hasn't scored over 20 since the Indiana game. He's been averaging about 14 points. This week alone, he hasn't touched 20, and it's in big games. I mean, we're talking Phoenix, we're talking the Clippers, and he's not even getting out of the teens right now.
Just looks like hesitant, like he doesn't really want to go out there and be an alpha in Dame. I mean, Dame is injured. Dame is hurt. Dame's not playing well. You need to go out there and give your guy. I mean, he had one good game recently where he looked like he was going to get hot and score 40, but he didn't. I mean, it's just, I don't know what's going on with CJ, but he just doesn't look like he has it all right now. And I'm sure he will as the season goes on. But this is a time where he needs to step up and be a leader, especially on the offensive end, because he's been terrible defensively. I mean, just awful. He's getting blown by. He's getting destroyed in pick and roll. I mean, it's just not good.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but if anybody thought this was going to be a surprise, you haven't been watching this team the last few years. Shock. Like this is not new. Like I get it's early. I do. I get that the rotations are things that can be worked on and potentially fixed, but what you can't fix is the ability of Dame and CJ's defense. Like you just can't do it. Every time I see CJ getting a one-on-one, and you can give me, I'm sure you can create a highlight reel of some okay CJ defensive plays. You can do that on anybody. You could probably create one on me if I were to play in the NBA. Okay, no. But the point is there's 80% of the time if he's left with the guy, they're shooting over him. True. Paul George feasted on him. People may not have caught this. If you didn't see the video of him walking by, they freeze framed it. And it was in the Clippers. I don't know if it was their locker room or it wasn't their locker room probably, but it was somewhere where they were talking about game notes. And on the whiteboard, it said attack, and it had CJ, Dame, and Anthony Simons on there. This is a game plan for team. They know that we're vulnerable there. And I don't care if you bring up Nurk to try to help out or not. It's not working. We saw that in Phoenix. So I want to give it time. Agreed. I want to be patient with it. But the results haven't been there, and CJ's defense has been a problem. And if he's not going to put up points to counteract that, this team's going to have some issues. I'm sorry. He has to get 20-plus a game. You're making the money, and you have the role of such, you need to be doing it.
And size is an issue for this team. I mean, I know Norman Powell has a long wingspan, but when those three guards are out there, they're getting bullied by teams with Paul George. I mean, Norman Powell did a nice job on Paul George in small stints, but Dame and CJ got destroyed by him. And that continued into the Phoenix game, and Denver was no better. I mean, Denver doesn't have a huge guard lineup, but their size issues with Aaron Gordon, it's just size matters in this league. And we don't have it right now. And so I think what Chauncey's going to do is I think he's going to rotate to having Powell play the 2 while Dame is out. And you're going to see Nasir Little play the 3. I don't think you can roll Simons out there in the starting lineup for reasons you already mentioned, which is basically you have no offensive punch in the second unit and you have no size. So now you're getting beat. I mean, it's not pretty. And Norman Powell probably deserves to start, and he deserves that two guard role.
You're paying him like you should. I don't know. I've seen Billups multiple times this year put out this 3-guard lineup, and it just doesn't look good to me. I mean, at one point he put it out there and left him out there late in the game, and he just said we can't stop him anyway. That was a quote.
Yeah.
That was a quote.
He gave up.
It's a problem, but we'll see. Like I said, it's early. I'm not making my final judgments to the quarter year.
Yeah.
All right, 20 games. 20 games if I don't see improvement from where we are right now. Again, not ready to jump ship on the changes, but it's going to be a little scary. The schedule isn't getting easier for us. I mean, the West is continuing the top teams are starting to pull away significantly. The bubble teams and middle teams, they're starting to beat us. They're starting to creep up there.
Yeah.
It's going to be a terrible end to 2021 if we keep this up.
Yeah.
Still room for change. Like you said, let Dame get right again. We've seen what Simons can do so far early in this season.
Yeah.
I don't want to just write him off because I know what he can do. I saw him doing it. He just needs to get back to doing that again. And as far as CJ goes, I think he's trying to do a little bit too much still. And a lot of this is because we're in close games, and I think he needs to feel like he has to play hero ball. Yeah. Early in the season, most of our games were blowouts. And in the blowout games, it's fine. CJ looks great, 24 a game, 4 threes. But that's because you're either getting blown out or you're doing the blowing out. And if that's the case, you don't have that pressure to try to score as much. And I think in some of these closer games, I mean, the last couple this whole week, all these games were within 10, 12 points a majority of the game. And he's looked bad in all of them, and that's something to monitor. Again, this is a weekly recap show, so for those of you who listen, I'm not saying that CJ is, you can point he's been actually pretty good this year. You can give me the percentages. This week, he is not. I'm sorry, he is not. It just hasn't been. He hasn't hit 21s, and a lot of these games have been within 10 a majority of the game, and that's something that we need to get fixed, and we need to get it fixed soon.
Well, speaking of fixing things soon, let's look at the schedule for this week. So you're going to the game tomorrow against Toronto. And
Wednesday. I'm just a regular season ticket holder.
Yeah, happy birthday to you. And then Saturday, we play the Sixers. We'll recap those 3 games next Sunday and post it on Monday morning. What do you foresee here?
Well, I don't really foresee. I'm not going to foresee anything at this point. No Dame. We don't have Dame in the Bulls game. They're going to crush us. I'm sorry. They spent some money. All their additions look good. Caruso's been great off the bench. Ball looks awesome running the point. Good. DeMar DeRozan's looked like an absolute stud. So I mean, they've really looked great. They obviously got Vucevic last year at the trade deadline. So they've made some moves to get some talent around Levine, and now they're one of the top teams in the East. Toronto, it's always fun, right? Gary Trent Jr. coming back to town. They have one of the best rookies historically, I believe, at least.
Scotty Barnes was on a torrid pace there for a while. I mean, he was ridiculous, and he was I don't remember the names that they showed him being up there with as far as through his first 13 games, but they were really big names. I mean, they were like LeBron. He's been really good on both ends of the floor, and Toronto's kind of a weird team because Pascal Siakam, although he's kind of fallen out of favor, I feel like they have scoring punch and some defense that they can throw at you, and I just don't like playing against Van Vliet because that guy's a dog. So
agreed. Chicago, we're going to get to have Derrick Jones Jr., my favorite Blazer. If anybody follows us, love him. He's great. He's so good. So get to see him again, and then we get Philly again. So second time we play Philly. They'll probably have Tobias Harris back this time.
They're tough.
He's sick. They still won't have – who knows on Simmons? I don't know what's going on with Simmons, but Embiid should still be out. He was out for about – I don't know. It was a couple weeks ago or a week and a half ago. They said 10 games, and we're probably still in that threshold. Yeah. I believe most of that was going to be through mid to late November, so they shouldn't have Embiid again. Yeah. Not that mattered last time we played them, but then we get to play against Seth Curry. So all 3 games upcoming feature some ex-Blazers that had major roles with the team. So I'm looking forward to seeing these guys and getting to watch them come back and play at Moda. So that's what's coming up. Yeah. 3 games next week. Hopefully things get better. I need to see more out of Nurk. The dude's just disappeared. 4 points is unacceptable. I want to see Simons get back up and running again. I think there's some room for him to do it. It really depends on what they're going to do with the starting lineup. You and me are kind of different on that. of what we think. I think they're going to keep rolling this Anthony Simons thing out.
Mm.
You want them to put Powell. I want them to put Powell and put in Nasir because Nasir's had a great week. He's looked amazing. Where Anthony Simons has fallen off, Nasir's looked great considering his role.
Yep.
But some of that's coming for us. And the last thing I want to announce.
Oh yeah.
The last thing I want to go ahead and announce, everybody, is this is the week. So the December 3rd, against Boston. We play Boston at home. I'll be giving away a pair of tickets. Well, we'll be giving away a pair of tickets here in the show. Pretty easy for you to get entered for a chance to win. All you need to do is post in the comments below on this YouTube channel. So for those who listen to the audio only version, this is a YouTube giveaway for now. We will be doing other giveaways throughout the year. But all you need to do is comment. We prefer you to subscribe and comment, please, and thank you. But I want to hear your favorite Trailblazers memory, right? We get people that listen from all different age groups, from different places. I want to hear your favorite Trailblazers memory. That's it. Nice and simple. The reason I'm doing this, Celtics were my dad's favorite team. Grew up with Larry Bird and all those guys. He passed away, as you guys remember, back in September. So it's a way to honor his memory by seeing what kind of memories that you guys have regarding the team. And if you can come up with your favorite memory of a Boston game, I'll enter you in for one extra drawing. Nice and simple. And we're just going to pick the name randomly. We're going to do this next week. We will announce the winner. Sorry, they're not amazing tickets, guys. I ain't rich, but it'll be 300 level. And so just something for you guys to do to try to help out. Spread the word for us. Subscribe, like, do all that stuff. This won't be the last giveaway we're going to do. We'll be giving away, different gear and stuff throughout the year. We wanted to do a little bit more of that last year, but this year, I think we're really going to get into it as we go into year 2 of our recaps. So that's really it. I got that announcement. So comment below. We have been hit or miss on comments. So honestly, Greg, appreciate you
every week. My guy Greg,
good shot of taking care of this. But if you guys want to spread the word around, we appreciate it. First giveaway that we're going to do on the show. So looking forward to that. Anything else you want to add, ma'am?
No, that's it. Like, sub, comment, and hit us up on Twitter. It's twitter.com/talkrip. We are constantly looking for engagement on there. Hit the sub button and hit us up, man. If you have any feedback or questions for the podcast. Other than that, let's go 500 or better, baby. Come on.
We got 3 games this week. We got to win 2 of them.
Gonna have to do it. So, here we go.
All right, man. Well, appreciate you guys listening. Mr. Moshkow, I will talk to you next week on the recap. Hopefully a better week for us and everybody else. We out.